You're live.
What's up, guys? We're back again with some live stream football here. It's NFL Sunday. Waiting for Scott Hansen to come onto my screen. We'll get you some good picks. Just Mackie and I here today, light crew, but we'll have some great insight for you, betting tips, fantasy football advice as well. So definitely hit our chat. We'll try and monitor that and get that over to you. So diving right into it, with Jesse and Huff on their way to the Pittsburgh Steelers game, we might as well start off our week with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game taking place at Heinz Field. I know it's got a different name. We're still calling it Heinz Field. And the spread is pretty low here. Jaguars coming in at -2, while those 4-2 Steelers come at +110 on the money line, +2 with an over 41.5. Mackie, passing it to you. Do you think TJ Watt and the boys can stand tall on defense today and take one out against this high Jaguars offense?
Yeah, I'm definitely split on this game. Not going to have a play on this one, but if I was to lean anyway, it would definitely be Jacksonville. Just a tough spread and a tough place to go play. Obviously, TJ Watt's going to get his. That defense is going to be swarming Trevor Lawrence all game. But this Jaguars offense has been rolling ever since they went to London. 4 straight. Trevor Lawrence is finally getting his groove under him. Him and Calvin Ridley have a crazy connection that they've kind of been building. I just think I think when it comes down to it, I think if you need 3 points, Trevor Lawrence will be able to drive down the field and get it, and Kenny Pickett won't. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, tight game, though. Steelers defense is going to be the question mark here. If they can win the game, then it'll come down to that.
I'll tell you what, one thing that's going to be big to monitor is Trevor Lawrence. I know he played last week with the brace on his knee on Thursday night prime time. He looked very great, rushing for a career high. However, going against that Steelers pass rush, TJ Watt's going to be all over you all game. Got to avoid those hits today, T-Law. I'm on them -2, but you're right. I can't card them against these Pittsburgh Steelers. They've taken out better teams by playing terrible, and I don't know how. I think their glory run kind of ends this week. They fall back to 4-3, kind of reset themselves to where they should be, a playoff contender, not a division winner. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I truly do, but I think the Jaguars can put up over 20 themselves, which is tough for Kenny Pickett to do against a very good Jacksonville Jaguars defense, young Jaguars defense, that is.
Yeah, I think if the Jags are able to put up 20 plus, they should be able to win this game. But then again, it could be a low scoring game. It could be a 17-14 game, maybe even like a 10-7 game at half, where you're seeing just both these defenses kind of ball out. Jacksonville's no slouch on defense either. So Kenny Pickett's got some work to do today as well. And when you're looking at both quarterbacks, when you're asking one to get it done, you're probably going to look at Trevor Lawrence and say that he's the one that's going to get it done. But then again, you're going into Heinz. Not an easy place to play. Defense is going to be ready to play, so it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, you're right, and I do think they can put up over that 20. It's not going to be easy. This Steelers offense is just putrid to me, and I don't really know how they're going to get things going. I know they have Deontay Johnson back in the mix. I'll tell you what, George Pickens, bona fide stud though. Guy looks great week in and week out. The connection he has with Pickett too is off the charts. However, I think that Christian Kirk, along with Calvin Ridley, like you said, is going to have another great game. Guy was uncontainable last week in that win, scoring that walk-off touchdown, 30-plus yards. But I think ETN, one of the most underrated running backs in the league, will find the end zone once again. I predict a Jaguars win, less than a score. I think it'll be like a 4-point win today. I'm going to go with 21-17 Jaguars, and that'll do it for me on this game.
I like it. I like the predictions. I'm not going to have a prediction score, but yeah, George Pickens has been having a crazy season so far. He's definitely a safety blanket for Kenny Pickett. He needs a big play to go to George Pickens, but now you got Deontay Johnson on the other side too, so it could be a little bit more of a threat. I like that score prediction. I think the Jags pull this one out, but like I said, not touching. Going to be a really good game.
Like I said earlier, with our two counterparts, Jesse and Huff at the game, we know they'll be riding the Steelers probably on that money line. Definitely not a bad play at home with Mike Tomlin and the boys. Moving on, Mackie, let's get into your Dallas Cowboys. They have a pretty tough matchup, in my opinion, this week. Not getting too much respect by the Bucs, the Los Angeles Rams are, but the Rams coming at +6.5, +250 on the money line. Cowboys, obviously, -6.5. The over at 45.5 today, so pretty low projection. I personally have a few plays I like in this one, but I'm eager to hear what you have to think about your Dallas Cowboys. Big game at home this week.
Yeah, coming off the bye, obviously before the bye, we had a nice big win against the Chargers. That was a commanding win. Would have brought us to 3-3 with a loss, with 2 straight losses. Wouldn't have been good for the Cowboys. But coming off a bye now, they have the momentum going. They're 7-3 in their last 10 coming off a bye. Dak Prescott with some rest has played really good football in the past. I think Dallas gets it done here. I think they should cover the 6.5 too. Rams have a pretty weak defense, and if the Cowboys offense is going, if Dak's finding those holes, finding those guys in the middle of the field, they should have no problem covering 6.5. Cowboys defense is no slouch either, so it's not like Matt Stafford's going to have a field day either. But you got to cover those receivers on the side. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. They don't really have that threat in the backfield right now with no Kyron Williams, but that offense can still put up points. So Dallas defense has their hands full for sure. When it comes down to it, I think Cowboys are just their drives are gonna outweigh the Rams drives. You're gonna get more worthy drives with like field goals and touchdowns. A lot of Rams drives I think are gonna fall short. A lot more punch from them. So I just think 6.5 might be a little not enough here for the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys -6.5.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good line the more that I think about it. You bring up some good points. It's going to be tough to control that Dallas Cowboys receiving core. We've seen CeeDee Lamb kind of talk about himself. Others talk him up as like one of those go-to targets, especially now with guys like Justin Jefferson, hampered. Jamar Chase's year slowed down a bit by Joe Burrow. I know he's still having a great season, but CeeDee Lamb really climbing these ranks and moving into the upper echelon in the receiving core. I don't think there's going to be an answer for him on that side of the ball. I do like a team total for the Dallas Cowboys here. I just think the Rams are able to put up more points than expected. That duo of Nacua and Kupp is insane. I mean, that guy bursting onto the scene, BYU and Wyoming product or Washington product, I believe it is. Nobody really had him pegged except for our analyst, a Beak, who jumped on and told us week one. Hey, that guy
Not a
Puka
beak.
Nacua, he's pretty good. You might want to
Before
pick
the
him up.
season, wasn't it? Before
Yeah,
the season,
before the season, I'm like, Beak, I don't even know who that is, but sure, we'll take a flyer. And turns out if you took a flyer on him, you hit the jackpot in fantasy. Guy puts up over 10 catches a week, always over 100, and somehow finds the end zone here and there too. But I personally think 6.5, too much for these Rams with that weak defense. You could still start up Darrell Henderson. I think he's going to get the workload. Really tough Cowboys matchup. That Cowboys defense is top rated. I do think the Cowboys add another one to their belt here. I'd say buy that 6.5 down to 6 if you can, just because those Cowboys kickers love missing extra points and field goals, these weird things here and there. But look for CeeDee Lamb to have a great day, the Cowboys offense to roll, and the Rams to struggle to keep pace in the south, in the deep south down in Dallas where we once were.
yeah. This
Like
is
shout out some of the chat here. Mackie, shout out some of the chat here real quick. We got Hoff tuning in from the road, a Beak. Everybody's on the Steelers money line. I mean, I guess you guys love the value and you're betting with the coach, but I'm going to take the better team. Trevor Lawrence injury, I think it's more of a facade. He looked great to me last week, so the Steelers are going to have to figure out how to put up some points on the board, or else it's going to be tougher sledding than you think.
I mean, if Kenny Pickett can get it going, I think that they'll be in good shape. But I mean, we just haven't seen enough of that recently.
The Jaguars' defense is good. I will tell you that.
Yeah, it's no slouch either. It's not like he's going against the Raiders or something. So,
yeah, but there with the Rams and the Cowboys, our takes on that game. Mackie, one thing I do want to leave you off with a quick answer will do justice here, but do you think the Dallas Cowboys explore the running back market at all with the trade deadline looming? I know they have Tony Pollard, but I've heard some rumors about that.
no, I really do think they stick with Tony Pollard. I think they made that decision when they got rid of Zeke in the offseason. This is their guy. You brought in Deuce Vaughn for a backup. They have that. I can't think of his name. Dowdry or something like that.
Oh yeah, yep. I know you're talking
He's
about.
been pretty good as well. So it's not like we don't have the depth back
Rico
there.
Dowdle.
Dowdle. That's his name. But I'm big on Tony Pollard. I think the Cowboys are big on Tony Pollard. I think he's getting the job done too. I don't really see why we need to go test the markets. Dallas is, I mean, they look good right now. Why you don't really need to go out there and get a different skill player, mess things up or anything. I like what they have going right here.
Yeah, if they can find something on the cheap, that'd be my only thought. Maybe bringing someone like Fournette if you get a ground and pound guy just behind Pollard, because God forbid something happens to him down the stretch. I'm not too confident in their safety options, but that's some good insight. I also think Jake Ferguson, who burnt me on the card last time the Cowboys were on the field, I think he gets back to having a good day. Feel free to start him up at tight end position. I know there's no buys this week. Should have started off the show by saying that, but all teams playing this week. But still feel free to fire up Jake Ferguson. I bet you he finds the end zone and gets over 5 catches here. Moving on, we have a very close divisional matchup. I know exactly where I stand on this one. The line's sitting at 1.5, over under at 41.5. In Lambeau Field, legendary Lambeau Field, Jordan Love takes on Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. A crucial game for both teams as the Packers look to keep pace in the NFC and have a chance towards the playoffs. And the Vikings look to cement themselves in the division winners conversation with the Detroit Lions. I personally like the Minnesota Vikings here. I like them on the money line. The Packers struggled against a very bad Denver Broncos team, and I know the defense for Minnesota is a bit lighter. You're going home in Green Bay, but they looked bad. The only touchdown they had was a broken play that ended up in Jaden Reed's hands. I had him on the card last week. They burnt me. The Vikings are scoring at will. Way too many points for the Packers to keep up with. Aaron Jones, I don't know what's going on with him. Only real playmaker on that side for the Packers. Mackie, I'm eager to hear if you're with me with these Minnesota Vikings, or if you think the Packers can pull off the upset at home.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely on the Vikings as well, but I'd be weary of this game. I mean, the Vikings are coming off a huge win against San Francisco on a Monday night. All the momentum rolling, and now they're going into Lambeau and a 1-point favorite in a divisional matchup. I just wouldn't write off the Packers just yet. I don't think it's going to be the easiest win ever, but I do think the Vikings pull it out. I just think Jordan Love's kind of gets back on track here. He's lost 3 straight. He had a pretty good start to the season. A nice. I think he had a nice fourth quarter 2 minute drive
Yeah, yeah,
in
that
one of his
it
first
wasn't
3 games or
clean.
something.
It wasn't clean, but he
Everyone,
won them.
yeah, everyone got on him for there, and then he lost 3 straight. They're sitting at 2-4 now, but I wouldn't write him out just yet. I think the Packers have something going here. In this divisional matchup at home, it's hard to go into Lambeau. It's very hard place to play. I think it's going to be a lot closer game than people think. I know it's a 1-point spread, but I think a lot of money is going to be coming in on the Vikings. But I mean, this team's rolling right now. They finally figured it out. They started 1-4, sitting at 3-4 now. This is definitely a team that can make the playoffs. And after a rough start, they need to win these games. They already dropped the games that they can kind of throw away. You got to win all these games now. These close, tight games where you're kind of expected to win. Kirk Cousins gets the job done even without Justin Jefferson. He's been finding Jordan Addison stepped up big. I just think this Vikings team can kind of figure it out and cover this 1-point spread, but it's not going to be an easy battle at all.
No, you're right. And Jordan Addison's sitting at second in the league for rookie receiving touchdowns, or maybe it's overall receiving touchdowns. But that guy's been electric. He had that big snag off of the DB's shoulder last week and run for a touchdown.
That
But
probably won the football game too.
yeah, and
That
they've
one
been,
touchdown.
but Kirk was finding him early and often, along with big 8'7" TJ Hawkinson, probably the 4th best tight end in the league there. Expect for them to have monster days in fantasy. Outside of those two, though, there's not too many options, so I'm eager to see how the Packers clamp down on them. Packers have a strong defense. That's the one thing that worries me, but this might be one of my favorite picks of the day is the Minnesota Vikings on the money line to win the game, sitting at minus 115 here, minus 118 on FanDuel, but shop that around. I bet you can find it better. This is going to be a great matchup for them. I think they put themselves back in the conversation with the Lions as some of the NFC's up and coming. I think they can take out the Lions too later in the season. Wait for that, but they're going to put themselves back in that conversation with a big divisional road win this week. Let's go Vikings. Skull, as you see in the chat. Shout out the chat here. We've got some people calling out the birds, purple birds, green birds. A beak on the Commanders and CMC streak ending today. I don't know. It's not opposite day out here in hit the books land. But yeah, Huff, Chance, Hawes, Skull, Vikings money line today. You'll see that on the card. Moving on from this one, Mackie, we got a few more matchups here. I think this could be one of the best matchups of the week. A lot of people looking forward to this one. Spread pretty high. I don't know what Vegas is doing to us here. But we have the Cincinnati Bengals going into San Francisco to take on the 49ers. So coming off back-to-back losses and dealing with injury concerns all throughout the board. 49ers still sitting at a minus 5.5-point favorite. Bengals sitting at just under plus 200 on the money line with an over under 43.5. So they're expecting a low scoring game with the 49ers just controlling the Bengals and neutralizing that Joe Burrow offense. I don't know if that's so much of the script. Eager to hear what you have on this one. Why don't you get us rolling?
Yeah, Brock Purdy got listed as active yesterday, so that's a big call. It's also a concussion injury, so it's not like he's playing at 50%. He's got to be 100% to play. So that's big news for those 49ers. I do still like the Bengals here, though. I really like the Bengals plus 5.5. I even think that possibly they can eke this one out, but I'm gonna play it safe and play the 5.5. Bengals won 2 straight, coming off a bye now. I know they're going into San Francisco, not an easy place to play, but this 49ers team is battling a lot of adversity right now. They've dropped 2 straight. Brock Purdy just coming back after a concussion. So I feel like even though he's 100%, I think he's going to play it a little safe. Maybe not run as much, but I just think that this Bengals defense has to step up. They have to cover the holes. Brock Purdy finds those holes in the middle of the field. You got to cover Brandon Ayuk in the middle of the field. He loves those crosser routes, and they find it a lot. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Debo is out. I could be wrong. That would be huge if he is out. I just think this is 5.5.
He's out. Debo's on the IR.
Yeah, 5.5 points is way too much for these two good teams. The Bengals are still a top team in the league. They still have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So it's just too many points. I think the Niners are kind of struggling right now. They don't have everything going. Just give me the 5.5 points for the Bengals.
I'll tell you what, I have a few takes on this game. The first one is Brock Purdy active today. They said he's playing. Hear me out. I love Brock Purdy. I think he's a great quarterback. Wouldn't have minded seeing Sam Darnold in this game just because of the offense and the way Kyle Shanahan uses everybody's abilities to the best of theirs. But then on the other side, everybody all over these Bengals, huh? They've been beaten up on some light competition, but I see your play. There's a lot of value on them. Plus 200 on a top 12 team in the NFL is pretty good. I don't even know if they're top 12. Huff, I'm going to rank them below your Steelers in terms of skill so far this year. The Burrow injury really catching up to him. The very, very weak defense, I think, is a great get right game for Purdy's offense. You still have the best player in football in Christian McCaffrey toting the rock in San Francisco. At home, I like the 49ers to win this game. I don't think they cover this 5.5. A beat that streak does not end today. I think McCaffrey goes for 2, maybe 3, as the 49ers put up 20 plus. I love the over in this game. I think the Bengals get the ball going through the air. Hey, how many times has he put in 2 this year?
I know, but
How weak
I
is this Bengals defense?
I don't think they're that weak, dude. I mean, maybe their run defense might be a little weaker, but I mean, last or 2 weeks ago, they were playing the Seahawks. They won 17-13. The amount of staggered drives that the Seahawks had in that fourth quarter where the Bengals defense just stepped up big and didn't let Geno Smith get that first down or get that big play. I mean, they proved a lot to me 2 weeks ago. I was very low on this Bengals defense before that, but I mean, that was a big statement game 2 weeks ago for them.
Yeah,
Huge
I honestly,
win.
like, that's a good point. And that Seahawks team is pretty valid since they'll be fighting for the NFC playoffs. But I think the San Francisco team is in a whole nother level of this team. I think that defense is going to get right at home. They got to play strong after 2 straight losses. Everybody's healthy on that side of the ball. And I think that Bengals defense is really succeeding because of that weak Seahawks offensive line. We know how weak it is, and Geno Smith always under pressure. This 49ers O-line is great. The depth they have all across the board is great. Brandon Ayuk, he's a top-end wide receiver. I think he's slotting in just below Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb, who we touched on earlier. I think they get right this week. I think Brock Purdy, if he's healthy, he's going. They're going to put up points. I think the Bengals are going to have a tougher time as they're going to be one-dimensional and only be able to attack through the air. I think Mixon's going to have a tough day of sledding against this 49ers front seven, but we see they're susceptible to big plays, as Addison showed us last week. So look for Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd to eat. Joe Barr's going to have to throw for a lot of yards because I think they're going to be playing from behind pretty often. But the 49ers are going to go nice and slow, and you can feel safe in taking McCaffrey to score Niners money line as a parlay there. A lot of people here love the Bengals. As we see in our chat, they're saying mix an ATD. That's off out there.
It's
I
all
don't know. I
about
think it's gonna be
that.
a tough day sledding. Mixon always gets the looks though, so you can't go wrong. Yeah, I mean, he gets the looks on the goal line every time, but will he get in is the question. I think this is going to be a great matchup in the 4 o'clock slate, and everybody's going to have eyes on this one. I
Nine
think I might be one of the few on the Niners, which is crazy.
Niners just aren't really playing Niners football recently. I mean, I know there's been injuries in the mix. Trent Williams 2 weeks ago with Christian McCaffrey and Debo, so that Browns loss kind of has an asterisk next to it. Not really, I wouldn't say an asterisk, but it wasn't their full team. But last week, I mean, it was basically their full team besides Debo. Against a Minnesota Vikings defense, they only put up 17 points.
I
They
think
just
the
don't look the
Vikings are better
same.
than we think, though. The Vikings are better than we think.
Not their defense. Their defense
No,
still
no,
gets
no.
it.
But what did McCaffrey have too? I think their defense is on par with the Bengals defense in terms of skill.
Okay, yeah. I think, but this is going to be a good game. I think 5.5 might be too much.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it go down. It's at 4.5 now on
I
the
think it's
score.
going to be close. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think the 49ers having home field advantage and being two-dimensional on offense allows them to win this game. I think this is going to be the best game of the day, though, for sure. With that, let's roll into our Sunday night football slate. The Bears and the Chargers. I mean, coming into the season, a lot of people were probably expecting Justin Fields against Justin Herbert, the two Justins battling it out, two young QBs. But instead, we're going to get Tyson on the other side for the Chicago Bears. D2 product showing you that it doesn't matter. D1 isn't a whole nother universe, like some have said to him when he was in college. Getting his first win in his first start with the Chicago Bears last week against the lowly Vegas Raiders without Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's pretty crazy to say. But they're coming in at plus 360 on the money line. Chargers giving 8.5 points here, minus 8.5 on the spread, and the total is sitting at over 45.5. Out there at SoFi Stadium, I do personally think the Chargers are going to get the win here this week. 8.5 is asking a lot in the prime time. Mackie, let me hear what you got. I do have a good play going into this primetime game, though.
Yeah, I think this is a good game for the Chargers to even cover a spread and kind of blow them out in a pretty good fashion here. They're having a tough year this year. They're 2-4. Justin Herbert's kind of getting finally getting some slander. It's not all on Brandon Staley anymore. But I mean, this is a good get right game for them. Keenan Allen's going to have a huge game. You're going to have Austin Eckler in the backfield have a huge game. This Bears defense is weak. We're going to see this high flying offense kind of pick them apart. On the other side of the football, though, I mean, you have this young D2 quarterback who's 1-0 in his career. He could have a pretty good game against this pretty weak defense as well. But I expect him to kind of come back down to earth a little. I think this defense is a little better than the numbers kind of put up. And when you're playing a quarterback like this and an offense like this is kind of a game where you kind of got to prove yourself that you're not the worst defense in the league, and the numbers kind of lie sometimes. But how funny would it be if the Chargers went into this game and lost and sat at 2-5? Where do you think the slander would be? You think Justin Herbert would take a little more, or you think it'd still
I
be
think
all
they'd
on
fire the
Staley?
coach auto. I think it'd be an auto coach fire.
But like, when do you draw the line? You start saying, all right, this is Justin Herbert's
Has
fault.
Herbert ever had another coach in his career though?
I couldn't tell you knowledgeably, but I don't think so. But I mean, come on, dude, like win some football games.
Yeah, I mean, look at our comments here, though. Even our viewers know Chance Galucci, longtime follower. Staley helps the Bears cover by doing something dumb. Yeah, we wouldn't be surprised. Mackey's been singing that praise all year. Huff's got the Bears +9. Me personally, I'm gonna go with a good play for you here. Parlay the Chargers, parlay the Lions on the money line. I know you're still not getting great odds, still sitting about -150, -175, but that'll give you something nice to roll with into Monday Night Football. I think both these home teams definitely win. I think they win by a score, but that's just about it, and they're both favored by more than a score. I also like Austin Eckler find the end zone. Had a tough week last week, and like Mackie said, this Bears defense is very light. Expect him to find the end zone. He gets the looks through the air and on the ground. No true competition out there, especially if they put up big points. You know he'll find the end zone and help out his fantasy managers. I love what you said about Keenan Allen. I'm a big Josh Palmer guy myself, but they also got Quentin Johnson and they have Gerald Everett. They're gonna
They
get
have the
everybody in
weapons.
the mix. Yeah, they're going to get going. This is a get right game for the Chargers where they put up 30 plus and have a big win. Getting to 3-4 in the AFC kind of puts you right in the perfect place to make a run towards the playoffs. And that's what I think this team will do. I know the coach isn't too great, but I think that they have enough skill. The defense isn't been playing well, but they have a good spot here to bounce back. No Khalil Herbert, no Justin Fields. Just watch out for DJ Moore. I know Donta Foreman. Start him up in your fantasy leagues if you're thin on the running backs because he'll get the looks as well. But I just think this game has Chargers written all over it.
Yeah, Chargers sitting at 2-4, and obviously lower expectations than coming into the season. But you need this one to stay alive. You fought a 2-5 against the Bears, and the season's kind of caked at that point. But yeah, I mean, we have two huge spreads: Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. It's a 9-point spread and an 8-point spread on Monday Night Football. I bet you one of these heavy favorites are going to be in trouble coming late down the stretch. But I could see them both pulling it out and finding a way to win. Should be a better game than we think. Chargers, Bears. Sunday Night Football.
Mackie, before we get off here, why don't you run through some of our locks of the week? We got our mortal locks of the week, as you guys know, one of our favorite segments. Mackie, I think we have Huff and Jesse's from the car on their way to Heinz Field and start tailgating. If you want to read those off, get into yours, and I'll close it out with mine.
Yeah, let me just get to that real quick. So Huff, hold on, sorry. Yeah, Huff's mortal lock of the week is going to be Steelers Jags under 41.5. He will be in attendance. He'll be rooting for no points. It's tough to be at a football game and not root for points, but the script has it here. That's a good.
If you're a
mortal lock. I
Steelers
like
fan,
that.
you always root for no points. That's how you get those 4 wins and
How
2
you get
losses
those
on the
wins,
record early
man.
on.
That's why you're 4-2.
They just win it in the trenches.
I don't have Jesse's. Do you have Jesse's?
I don't have Jesse's.
Oh,
Jesse, throw it in the chat if you got
He
one.
said no mortal lock for me. So Jesse's fading the mortal lock this week. I don't even think he's been that bad. So that's kind of crazy. But I'll go with some. I usually go with the spread here. I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown, more safer option. Ace always chirps me for having the hardest game on the schedule be my mortal lock, and it hasn't really helped me out. I think I'm like 2-5 or something like that. Not very good, but going to go with Alvin Kamara anytime -120. I really like the Saints today. I'm big on them. I think he definitely finds the end zone. They use him like he's like the entire offense, I'd say, especially with Derek Carr at the helm. So expect Alvin Kamara to get in the end zone today.
Yeah, I like that play, Mackie. Mackie's expected to have a big week. He said bounce back after last week. Started 1-0 on Thursday Night Football. So definitely tune in.
1-6 last week. 1-6 last week. Probably my worst week in the 3 years I've been doing this.
You already matched your total on this week from last week. You're 1-0 heading in, so you're riding high. Let's stick with it.
Way safer week for me. I'm gonna bounce back this week. I already said it.
I love how you took an anytime touchdown score as your mortal lock. You know I always do that week in and week out. Finally missed last week. My one anytime touchdown score in the Sunday 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock slate that missed was Kenneth Walker. And I had the video rolling ready. He got stuffed on the goal line on first and goal from the one, stuffed on the goal line from second goal on the one. And then it was just like, are you kidding me? He doesn't get in for the rest of the. But I'm gonna come right back with it, and I know this is gonna be pretty high odds. I found the lowest one at minus 170, minus 175. So make sure you chop it. It's gonna be Christian McCaffrey getting the end zone. All you talking about the streak ends today. It does not end today. He's gonna find the end zone, parlay it with the Niners to win. I think they get right. Christian McCaffrey doing his thing, offensive player of the year, potential MVP candidate. But we have a lot of great games throughout the board here. I like the Eagles today. I know a lot of you are on them. I know the Saints and Colts. That'll be a hotly contested game, low scoring though. Texans and Panthers. We have those two young quarterbacks going at it. And what else we got? Falcons, Titans. Will Levis making his debut. Be wary of that if you own any Titans players in fantasy. The battle in New York with the Jets and the Giants. My Patriots taking out the Dolphins today. Patriots win, book it. I got to get it on the record. And then finally in the 4 o'clock slate, some Browns and Seahawks, and then the Ravens and Cardinals in a Dirty Birds matchup. Expect to see some snow in that Chiefs Broncos game. That'll be a fun one to watch. Love those snow games. I saw something about a dozen inches, so a foot there in Denver. I know Jesse and I were talking about that yesterday. So we see a mortal
That's
lock from Chance
crazy.
Galucci here. Houston minus 3.5. Not even buying the half a point on a mortal lock. That's crazy to me. Buy that half a
You
point
know
before you
what?
lock that ticket in. Some
You want to
pro
know what's
tips right there.
crazy? I'm taking the Panthers to get their first win this week too. You might see it in my card. I haven't locked it in yet, but I do think that coming off the bye, the Panthers, they're not the worst team in the world. You're going in against an inexperienced Texans team. They're going to have a fluke game. They're in Carolina, very low scoring game. You're going to get. Give me the Panthers money line.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm not taking a side in that game, but I am firing up Adam Thielen to start in all leagues, looking at his props and his scoring prop in the books as well, because that guy's been insane. I know he's 32 years old, but he's a
Steal
top 5 receiver.
fantasy football steal of the draft. I wish I can go back and check where I got him, but I got him late. It was just a safety pick. He's going off this year, top 5 receiver in fantasy.
That's a good
Um,
point. I mean, I have him in 4 of my leagues. I was like, his ADP was so low. Why don't you just stick with it?
crazy. Like he's still a reliable option. He's like a Cooper Cup almost.
Yeah, I mean that guy's good. I don't know how you can go wrong there. And he's inked for a long term there, 3 years, 7.5 million. I got him 114th overall in fantasy. So that just goes to show you how criminally underrated a super perennial superstar is. But you've heard all of our picks here on the books. Hit the books. Make sure you check out all of our cards. So we'll have all that posted. Our Monday night recording coming out tomorrow. We'll have some takes on that Lions and Raiders game. Expect a great slate of football today. My Patriots look for them to upset the Dolphins. I hope they can. But your money's safe with a lot of the other plays we went over. Mackie, anything else before we go off today?
No, just looking forward to another good week of football. Week 8. We're just about halfway through the season. Next week will be halfway through. So football season's flying by. Get those locks in.
Yeah, enjoy the week. We got a lot of baseball, hockey, basketball, along with a great slate of football today. You heard it here first. Hit the books. Catch us later.